Hi friends, Riflechair here, and in this episode I want to talk a little bit about scope mounting systems. There's a bunch of products out there that I like. There's a bunch of them out there that I don't really particularly like. I mean, they all work well enough to one extent or another. But I just want to go over some of the stuff that I've seen people doing, and because quite often what people will do is they'll go out and they'll spend horrendous amounts of money on buying the best ammunition, and then the best optics, and then the best rifle platform, and they're in for $2,000 or $3,000. Then they go out and they spend like nothing on their scope rings or their scope mounting system, which is kind of like having an Achilles heel in your system. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the rings out there and mounting systems that I would recommend for people if they're looking at starting out, noting that you do pay for what you do get what you pay for. So and in the field of view in front of you, you'll see the 1-4x24 CMR Hilux, beautiful scope, and it's wearing PRW Leupold rings. This is a ring mounting system that I absolutely love. The lugs on these rings are absolutely awesome. The tightness that you can get out of these rings is phenomenal. Say compared to some of the other type of lug systems that are out there that you can see here in these old Burris type rings here. It's a steel stud, mind you, and the rings are steel, but that lug is not terribly well fitting, and you will get some slop. Obviously when the rings are tightened down, you'll get a little bit of movement back and forth with most of these scopes, but the more concise and the better fitting the lug is to the width of the weaver slot, ultimately the more reliability it's going to keep and maintain for you, because the scope isn't going to be slapping around if things start to come a little bit loose. It's going to stay more locked in position. So let's talk about some of these different systems here. I do like the PRW system that Leupold has adopted with their rings. I'm a big fan of it. Here's a few other of the PRW family line here that I do like. Where's the other one? One here, and is that it? Yeah, that's it. So this here is the PRW line of Leupold. This here is the QD quick detach lever on here. Now these type of scope rings that you'll see here are very expensive. They're about $100 for a set, but they are absolutely worth it. All steel construction, and the reason why I got the Gunroom magazine out here is simply to show you, when something's made of steel, it's going to pick the magnet up. But you'll get something like this. It kind of looks like a Leupold, but what's going on? Oh, it's not made of aluminum. It's a really cheap Chinese copy. Right, they're trying to base a scope system based off a good design that works really well. But this here, you would never want to rely on this. It looks like a Leupold PRW, but it is not. It's just cheap. All steel, built rugged. The Leupold PRW ring system, quite expensive, but worth every penny. Next on the list here is a scope system, a ring system that I have been using for, since I was a kid. And you guys will recognize this. This here being the old Weaver ring system, which works brilliantly well. It's a very, very old system, but I've never had any problems trying to maintain a zero. You will notice that there is some metal in here. It is actually a combination of metal and aluminum, the base being made of aluminum and the clamp on top being made of steel with steel anchors and so on. But they're a very affordable but a reliable system. You got your 22 rails, again, same kind of idea. And then Weaver's also got these special rings here for if you want to try to run open sights as a backup. I don't particularly like these kinds of rings because I like to be able to keep my scope really nice and low to the rifle whenever I can, but they do make a product like that for that purpose. You want to run a scope and open sights at the back time as a backup. These here are Parker Hale rings. They will not, a magnet will not pick them up. So there's this, I think some kind of a polymer, and maybe it's aluminum and polymer, but it feels kind of like a polymer coating that's on it, but I suspect these are actually made of aluminum. And you know, you don't have a lot of options when it comes to Parker Hale mounts. You either are going to be able to run Parker Hale rings or you're not, right? So whenever I get a Mauser 98 that's got Parker Hale bases on it, I have a tendency to transfer them over to Weaver bases, because your options just open up. I mean, fundamentally the Weaver system has become the universal system. So I'm, you know, these old Parker Hale rings are okay. I have been able to twist these off, and like you're tightening, and oh, it just fell off. So I don't have a lot of confidence in the Parker Hale system. This here is one of the Burris systems. Now these are definitely steel rings, okay. But you'll see first of all, the stud is circular and not square like the PRW rings from Leupold, like so. Okay, these ones are round, which means you get a ton of slop when it sits inside the rail. You get tons of slop this way. So you really got to tighten the system down in order to get this ring to stay put. And so you're putting that little tiny screw under a fair amount of pressure. This here is the Burris Z rings with the 20-minute angled down angle shims. I think these are good scopes. I've used these quite a bit, but it's got the same character flaw in the design here, right? It's not terribly secure. You've only got the one screw, and the stud isn't really very tight to the rail system. So I'm not a big fan of that ring idea. We've got another Leupold product here, and Redfield did this for the longest period of time here as well. These are the dovetail system. This is especially good for a scope system that you may be using a scope that does not have a centered reticle. So it's not the field of view that changes with every turret adjustment. It's the reticle that moves. And in those kinds of situations, a base system like this is going to be brilliant for you, because you'll be able to, as close as possible, keep your aiming point in the center of your field of view, and then adjust the rings on these bases back and forth for windage. All right. So that's a real good mounting system. However, if you want to take your scope off and then put it back on and try to maintain zero, it can be tricky with the dovetail system. But overall, I've had good success with this, and I think it's a great mounting option, especially for hunters. Plus, you can get your scope really nice and low on the rifle as well. Warren rings, huge fan. These here are the for the CZ 550. Got the 19mm mount on here, and it is also a QD ring. These are also exceptionally expensive, hard, cold steel, and very tough. Got the of course, I love those. I love the locking system for these as well. I absolutely adore Warren products. All steel, made to be rugged, and I love them a lot. Now there are some other rings out there that are kind of no names, but we'll look at these ones here. These here are rings that I love. This here is the kind of the Burris tactical ring system. It is all aluminum housing, but I still think they're great. But just look at the number of retaining screws that you've got on this ring system here. I think these are great. This one here is a high, I think. I've got 2 hunting rifles with these rings on them, and I've got, obviously they're low 1-inch rings. And look at that, a 1/2-inch drive. I mean, you just know you're going to be able to, you know, with some confidence, tighten down that thing and know that it was made to stay tight and not come loose. Right? These are great. And then there's other companies out there that tried to copy them. Like, I don't know where this Chinese thing came from. Same kind of idea, but made of aluminum. But look how thin the aluminum is. I mean, it's just not. And they got this huge I think it says Leapers or something, UTG or I don't know. Good? Not. And, you know, here's the burr system again. Again, it's all aluminum construction, but built really well. And the pepper burrs, the burst pepper system is really quite affordable. You can pick yourself up one of these for next to nothing now. These for used, I mean, and they're just, man, they're just well built. Not necessarily light, but you know, for aluminum rail, you want it. It's going to be fairly tough. You know, you could do a lot worse than the burst pepper. Millet. I used to run millet a lot. I don't anymore. Again, just the number of screws that you use to actually hold things in position. It is made of metal. It's good. However, I don't really have a terrible amount of confidence in the lug system. It is fairly tight, but I've had problems with the lateral controls on these things, especially with they seem to be using a type of metal that is fairly soft. So these are actually fairly easy to round out on the inside. So I don't use millet rings anymore. Okay, here we have the Sauer 100 Classic XT, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite rifle designs. And the Sauer here, you'll see that it is essentially designed its mounting system after one of the most popular hunting platforms, indeed precision platforms in the world, which is the Remington Model 700. So they have adopted the same spacing and profiling of the receiver action in order to not require a unique mounting system. So this here is a beautiful weaver rail mounted onto the Sauer 100, which is the Remington long action weaver standard rail, and it is the extra long, mind you. The extended multi-slot by Weaver Tactical, and I chose this lovely aluminum rail made in the USA to run on this rifle. And sitting on top of that, we are running the Burst Tactical rings because I just have so much confidence in them. That half-inch, just the half-inch nut of bolting the sucker down. I mean, it is just, it just fills you with confidence. I mean, I've been running these on these rings on some fairly heavy recoiling rifles, and I've had absolutely no problems whatsoever with this system. They have never ever failed on me. You can see these rings have been used for a number of years. The screws have held. You know, the anodizing is coming off the aluminum, but those are total and complete confidence in those rings. You can see the way I've got the scope mounted low on this Sauer here. I generally like to try to get the bell a little bit closer even to the barrel than what you see here. Like I'd probably have it at least another 1/4 inch lower if I could get away with it, but because of the extended nature of this rail, I can't. I'd have to cut this lug off here in order to get the scope lower. But you know, I would not want to have it any higher than that. I try to get the scopes as low on my rifles as I possibly can, while still being able to, which is one of the conveniences of this particular rifle, which is a 60-degree bolt throw. Unlike your Savage Axis and so on, which has a huge bolt throw on them. The Tikka T3s and the Sauers and I believe the Ruger American, I mean, they're all on the right path so far as I'm concerned when it comes to running a hunting rifle where you can actually mount that scope nice and low. Eyepieces have become much bigger, and then you start putting on things like your lens covers and on them, and before you know it, you almost got no space between your bolt and the edge of the eyepiece here. So that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to my scope mounting systems on my rifles. This is by no stretch of the imagination is an exhaustive review of scope mounting systems. Just some of them, from my experience, the kind of products that I will pursue when I need one. is definitely the Leupold PRW, the dovetail system that Leupold puts out. The Burris tactical rings are incredible, love-worn products. And you know what, the old-fashioned Weaver rings, they work pretty damn good too. The old German claw mounts are great, but you're a little bit limited so far as the flexibility and the applications, the way you can customize your scope height, angle, all of that different kind of stuff. The old Bruno mounts that mount onto the 19mm dovetail integral receiver scope mounts and so on, where you really are limited as to what you can do. However, with Weaver and their scope mounting products that they offer, you're just opening the door to customization, suitability, and being able to get the rifle to fit you the way it needs to fit you, so that you shoot to your best abilities possible. Riflechair signing off. Hope you enjoyed that, and as always, Maple Leaf out.